everyone, it's me, Lindsay, with EquipMeOT, here today to talk about how to set up for sleep following a mastectomy or similar procedure. Now, there's a lot of different variations and recoveries when it comes to these chest-based surgeries, whether it's reconstruction, double mastectomy, hemimastectomy. There's a whole lot of different variation, and it's so important that you start by having a good conversation with your surgical team to know what you're allowed to do and when you're allowed to do it. So when it comes to sleep, there are some fairly consistent guidelines that I'm going to go over, and then I'm also going to link below to several individuals who've made some beautiful videos on this platform showing their recovery perspective and how they were able to sleep. So definitely check those out in addition to hopefully finding some value here. So first things first, the vast majority of individuals recovering from mastectomies or similar procedures are going to be restricted to sleeping on their back for a good portion of the initial recovery, which can be problematic for those of us who are used to sleeping on our sides or even our stomachs. But those really aren't going to be options for an initial few weeks period of the recovery process. But you have options for how to get comfortable on your back, and I truly believe with these things you can get there for you can have a restful night's sleep. So first things first, you don't have to sleep in bed. For a lot of individuals, sleeping in a recliner is actually the most comfortable initial place to sleep. Now, I did a video here that really goes over the details of how to set up a recliner so that you can avoid some of those secondary issues that result from prolonged recliner sleep. So go ahead and check that out there. But if you're ready to transition to bed, let's go over some of the ways that you can set yourself up for back sleep following this procedure in bed. First things first, you're not going to want to lay flat. Laying flat is going to be far too uncomfortable, and in many cases, it's not even recommended. So when it comes to sleeping in bed, you're going to need to figure out a way to set up this incline at the head. Now you have some options here. The first option is the priciest option, and that is investing in an adjustable bed. Things like Sleep Number like that, they can bring in a really nice push-button, easy-to-use adjustable bed mattress that allows you to elevate the head to the perfect level and the feet. This is a great way to do it if you're really concerned about limiting factors, but it is a little bit pricey. So let's talk about some cheaper options. My favorite option is using one of these wedges. Now I love this wedge because it's a multi-positional wedge, which basically allows you to take on a lot of different angles. This angle gets you to about 45 degrees, which is usually where people start, but as they progress in their recovery, you kind of can build some endurance towards laying a little bit flatter. And you can see here, once I open up this, I can lay with a much lower elevated head. So really you can kind of play with this to figure out what's the perfect position for you. You can obviously also close it up and then turn it on its long side here and use it to kind of sit really erect in bed if you're spending a fair amount of time in your bed. So I just really like this particular model. It's about $50 on Amazon. I'll link it down below. So once you have something like this, if you don't have a wedge, you can also use pillows, but just be prepared. It takes a lot of pillows to build a wedge, and you're having to adjust them more frequently. So for simplicity's sake, I like the wedge. It'll save you some pillows, and it'll also save you some effort and setup. The next thing that I recommend for back sleeping is a variety of pillows. With any type of sleep positioning following surgery, you're gonna need a variety to kind of get you into that right, perfect position, which is a pretty personal experience. So definitely be ready to trial, perhaps error, and find what works for you. I want to mention here too, if you have drains in place, which is really common after this, having some sort of garment that will hold those drains and drain bulbs out of the way while you're sleeping is so important. There are shirts and binders and clip systems that all exist just for that purpose, to hold drains up and out of the way. So making sure you have something like that is super important so you're not having to fuss with them while you're also trying to get a restful night's sleep. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the sleep position here. I'm gonna bring in 2 pillows right off the bat because this is soft, but it's a fairly firm memory foam. So I like to add kind of a flatter pillow at the lumbar. And then for me, I like a little thicker pillow at my head, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do just like a head pillow there, and then this lumbar pillow here. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to position myself. This is so important. If you're sleeping elevated head of bed, you do not want to lay with your legs flat. You're gonna need another pillow, and I have a firm pillow here. I'm gonna find it. There it is. A nice firm pillow for under your knees. I'll move these out of the way because these are for something else. But I'm gonna put this under my knees. Now, some people like 2 pillows under the knees. Some people like 1. But I'm telling you, if you're trying to sleep with your head elevated without something under your knees, the stretch it puts through your hamstrings over time can cause cramping in your calves, and it's just generally uncomfortable. So this is the initial starting position. The very next thing I need to do is I need to support my arms. It's super important after a chest surgery, and this can be cardiac, this can be broken ribs, and this can be mastectomies. This pretty much qualifies for all of them. You need to elevate your arms. If you don't elevate your arms, you run the risk of having that pulling that comes with those pectoral muscles being cut, and you do not want that feeling while you're trying to get a restful night's sleep. I like to position the pillows kind of a little bit across the lap, just like this. Now if I rest back, I'm pretty comfortable. This is giving me a lot of support. The next thing I might add is for any individual who maybe is used to side sleeping, I'd add this extra piece. This comes in a lot of varieties. My variety actually is kind of a unique one, but is a neck pillow. For a lot of people, sleeping on their back is uncomfortable because they're used to having that kind of pressure on the side of their face, and it gives their neck a position to stay in. So if you add a neck pillow to this back sleeping, now you don't run that risk of a kink in your neck from your head rocking to the side too far. So finding a neck pillow that you really like can really make a difference. Now, one thing to consider is this is a lot, right? If you're trying to get this all done yourself, you may struggle a bit. So it may be helpful, at least initially, to have somebody present to help set you up, at least the first few nights of recovery while you get used to this arrangement. I also recommend using lightweight blankets. Avoiding really heavy quilts and duvets at this point is wise because you don't want to be struggling to pull with those tender muscles. You also don't want the weight of that being something that adds extra discomfort while you're trying to get yourself positioned. So a nice lighter weight blanket like this can keep you warm without all that extra work. So I do recommend going with something lightweight. Now, a few other things you can have on hand. Some individuals find a slight amount of counter pressure to be really helpful on a tender chest. Now, again, this is very individual, so I'm going to bring this out because I do want to show what you can do. A nice flat gel-based freezer pack, so you can have that ice placed over a towel typically. You don't want to place this directly or over a shirt. Gently placed over that region, and then applying a little bit of extra pressure with this type of flat pillow. You can see how flat this is. This is actually designed as a toddler pillow. So they're really small, and they work really well for this because they have almost no weight. For some, this is how they feel most comfortable, okay? Now, I know what you're gonna ask, but I'm a side sleeper. How am I supposed to get comfortable? And the answer is you can. Now, the problem is you have to wait for a few things. Those drains need to be removed. You cannot lay on a side with a drain. It's not possible. You also need to be cleared by your physician, your surgeon, to be allowed to lay on your side without it causing problems to the recovery. This is especially important if you've had a reconstruction. Reconstruction surgeries have much stricter guidance for the recovery process. So absolutely know what your surgeon is going to allow. But with the similar kind of positioning that I have here, with a few changes, I can get partially onto my side safely. So I'm still going to have the wedge in place because partly the wedge is going to make a big difference for getting up and down. But also, again, they don't want you laying flat yet. Instead of having the pillow under my knees, I'm putting it between my knees. I've still got a pillow on my side here, and I'm also going to keep a pillow behind me. This kind of helps keep me from rolling back. And I'm going to lay very gently up onto my side like this. I'm not completely on my side. And again, because of gravity, you need to know that this is safe. Some individuals will take a bolster pillow or like the flat pillow I used before and place that between on their chest like this while they're on their side, and that just provides a little bit of input and comfort between the breasts. So this is one option where you can use a bolster pillow, or you can use the flat pillow like I showed before. So the answer is you can get on your side, but it is a little bit more down the line in your recovery. So there you have it. A few pillows up on your side just ever so slightly, and as you progress, you can start to get even farther onto your side through your recovery. But again, always check with your surgeon first. When it comes to stomach sleeping, that one you're going to have to wait for a full recovery and clearance from your surgeon before going back to stomach sleeping, and that's usually a few months following the procedure. So there you have it, some sleep positioning guidance for those of you recovering from mastectomies or similar chest-related procedures. I hope you got some value out of this video. If you have some comments or questions, leave them down below. And as always, if you need more information on how to stay safe and independent in your home and community, consider subscribing to EquipMeOT. Thank you.